Hey guys, I'm the BPG13 and I've got a special guest with me today. You may know him as Alex Stopp. He does Bomb Xbox highlights and he's quite an interesting guy, let me tell you that for a fact. I've got him with me, I'd like to say hello.
Hello, everyone.
We're going to be talking about a few topics today. We'll mainly try and stick to F1 and gaming for the most part. We might go off on the sidestep to other subjects. But first things first, let's start off with F1. Brand new season, brand new cars, new rules. What do you think, Alex?
Well, it's good to have a shake-up because I felt the previous regulations were getting a bit stale, especially with the Red Bull dominance that we've had in the past 4 years now. So it's nice to see a bit of a difference. I mean, the cars all look different. They don't look great though, because
I can agree with you on that one, yeah.
Yeah, because they look, most of them have weird sexual-looking things on the front of them. But
yes, that's true.
But in terms of competitiveness, it seems like it's more competitive than ever. So, yeah.
Especially with a lot of new faces on the grid. So we've got Daniel Krivat, I think he's called, drive for Toro Rosso. We've got Kevin Magnussen, drive for McLaren. Obviously, the Red Bull drivers are kind of the same, but we've got Ricard instead of Webber. We've still got the Aussie in Red Bull. But Mercedes obviously stuck with the same drivers. Kimi's now gone to Ferrari. A lot of changes have happened since last season, especially one car that I've noticed in particular. Now, even though we've got, as you say, we've got all these new noses on the front which make them a bit inappropriate, shall we say. But obviously we've got new 1.6 twin turbos or something, turbocharged engines, which is, as far as I can tell, they sound awkward at the moment, but obviously that's something that people will probably get used to over time.
Yeah, it's like with the switch to V8.
Exactly.
Like when it first happened, people thought they were like just really puny, whining, downsized V10s. But of course we got used to that, and I think that'll be the same with these, although they're a lot quieter, the V6s. So.
Exactly. And something that you kind of obviously with them being turbocharged as well is that you can actually hear the turbo in them pretty much you can. Something that, like I said, something that stuck out to me. Now, it's one car in particular. Now, obviously we've had McLaren had lost one of their sponsors last year, so they've gone for the full silver look and obviously the nose on the front. Now, one team that's definitely changed this year is Williams because of what they're called now, the engine. I mean, the car is practically, obviously it's not going to be the same, but it's similar to the likes of McLaren and I think Mercedes perhaps. But the livery on the car and, I mean, obviously the driver lineup's changed. I mean, literally, Williams has just come back with a vengeance now, I guess.
Yeah, they have.
A couple of years.
They've reorganised with people, and they've got new people in. I can't name them. I'm not that good with those kind of engineers and stuff, but they have. And Felipe Massa was a really good purchase for them, considering beforehand they had Pastor Maldonado, who was a bit inconsistent in terms of race finishing. And I think they're moving forwards from what they were before.
I can agree with that.
Especially in 2013, and then before in 2011, the two worst seasons ever in Formula 1. So
that's true, yeah. What was the other one? No, there was the Ferrari. Now, even though they've changed, obviously the drivers have changed, they've still got Alonso there, he's been there for years, and now they've moved Kimi Räikkönen back there again, so he's gone from Ferrari to Lotus and then back to Ferrari again. Now, with these two, they've shared a big rivalry, I guess, over the past couple of years, but it's not really been seen upon, really, by many people.
No.
I think back in 2004, 2005, when I think Raikkonen was driving for Ferrari back then, or McLaren, there was a really big rivalry between the two. But over the years since then, the rivalry's kind of swept away a little bit, and now it's been Alonso and Vettel really for the main part.
Yeah, they were younger back then. So they both came into F1 at the same time. Alonso debuting with Minardi in 2001 and Raikkonen with Sauber in 2001. They did okay in that year, but I think it was because they were young, new drivers with a lot of talent, I think now they're a bit older, a bit more mature. So I don't think it will be like a Vettel Webber situation, because I think that was a bit of the fact that Vettel's really young and Webber's really old, and Webber didn't like the new ways in which Vettel was dealing with things, and that's how it kicked off. But I don't know. I can't predict things that well. So
fair enough. There's one, obviously now we've still got the younger teams. We've still got Marussia, we've still got Caterham and Toro Rosso in there, all in the mix of constructors that we've had from last year move over to this year. I think that even though we've obviously heard about Kobayashi, he's come back to Caterham. Well, he's come back to F1, but he's now in Caterham instead of Sauber. I think that with Kobayashi coming back, he might be able to redeem himself. Now, obviously, he had a great result in 2012, I believe, when I think he finished third in Japan.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And he did quite well to finish there. I mean, obviously it was his home race, so there was a lot of tension that weekend, I presume, for him. But since then, I mean, obviously he's only been off for a year, but coming back in, do you think he's still got the pace that he had 2 years ago, or?
Well, have you watched qualifying yet then, or?
Not yet, no.
Okay, I won't say anything. But I think he's still got it, if I'm honest. I think he's out there to prove something. He's out there to grab the attentions of Force India. Because if Perez does really badly compared to Hulkenberg, then you could potentially see Perez going for Force India and then Kobayashi being kicked up. He's in the eyes of many teams probably if he does what he used to do at Sauber at Caterham.
Yeah.
Also, he did still race in that year. He raced in the World Endurance Championship.
I believe so, yes.
So he's not rusty. I mean, it's not like Bottas in 2012 where he didn't do any racing for the entire year. He only did those practice sessions and then he didn't do anything.
Yeah, I believe so.
So until he started Australia in 2013. So
there was one surprise for me. Now, obviously, with Force India having a new driver lineup and whatnot, the car's colours changed, and I think it looks really nice and everything. However, with the drivers have changed dramatically, I guess, with Perez being in that. Perez going into the team and Hulkenberg being in it. But I think Perez dropped his pace completely last year. And now I know since when he was in Sauber, he had a really good run going towards the rear end of the season. But when it came to last year, when they started up, McLaren didn't seem strong at the start, but obviously near the end they got stronger. But I think with him moving to Force India, I don't know about his pace this year. Do you think it could perhaps improve again, like 2012, or?
Well, the 2012 Sauber was a very good car, as in it had very good aero.
I think it was the fastest one in the field, wasn't it? It was something like that, or I don't know, I'm not in the game.
Yeah, it had very consistent aero, really good tyre wear, and you could potentially say that if a driver like Alonso or Hamilton was in one of those Saubers, then they would have, been winning races. But not to be too downbeat on what Perez did that year, because he did beat Kobayashi by quite a margin in the end. I think that McLaren has improved him, because Button is a world champion, and some people are like saying Button for the championship every year. Before we got this. So Perez didn't. I know he got less than 50% of what Button got, but McLaren didn't end up with that many points. So I think it's a bit harsh on him. So I think he won't do as well as Hulkenberg, because I think Hulkenberg is one of the top people in the field. He has the best junior record of any Formula 1 driver. But I think he'll do okay, although although he hasn't really impressed so far at Force India in the tests or anything. So I don't know.
I think the three teams to keep an eye on this year. Now, even though we've got the front runners, we've got Red Bull, we've got Ferrari and Mercedes, and perhaps Lotus in there in the mix. That them three or four even are the top runners. But then if you look towards the middle sets, we've got Sauber, Force India, and McLaren, and perhaps Williams in there in the mix. Looking at the cars as well and how they're performing this year to last year, it certainly seems like the tables are completely turning. So we had Force India out in Bahrain a couple of weeks back and doing pre-season testing, it seemed to held up okay, but it didn't seem to be. Obviously, it wasn't as fast as the Mercedes of Hamilton and Rosberg. The Ferraris seemed to be holding up quite well, to be honest, with the sticking with the Mercedes. Lotus not doing so well, which is surprising, really. Williams going quite further up. I think obviously it shows what pace the drivers have got with the cars at the moment.
Yeah,
but
with the Ferrari. Yeah,
I think Ferrari's got. Put it this way, I think Ferrari's gone from. If you look back for the past 10, 14 years, 10 to 15 years or so, you had Schumacher was coming in from the late 90s, early 2000s. He had this dominating reign of 7 World Championships, and obviously I think constructors as well with them years.
Yeah.
But obviously after I think he left for a year, then he came back, and then he left. I don't know. He was a bit on and off with F1. When he did come back eventually, he was only in it for about 2-3 years. But he didn't seem to come back very well. Obviously, I don't blame him, because obviously he's getting older, and I guess his experience is starting to go. But obviously with Vettel being on his charging reign back then, I think Ferrari only reached a high point, I think, with Schumacher, and then when Alonso joined, it seemed to start to dip slightly. I think perhaps that this year, maybe next year even, we could see the Ferraris start to climb back up again, start being dominant. I mean, Mercedes are only a good fight up to Red Bull at the moment, and Ferrari alike. But I think between the three, I think Ferrari's the least reliable, not reliable car, but the least reliable team in order to get a World Championship again since Schumacher's left, or since he's since he left Ferrari a couple of years ago.
The thing with Ferrari is that they've got their two main rivals at the moment, which is Mercedes and Red Bull, are very corporate, as in, like, you've got the Red Bull energy drink company, which is putting billions into loads and loads of programs in sports. So, like, you see the fact they even own the Austrian Grand Prix track we're going to. It's called the Red Bull Ring. They have an unbelievable amount of money, and of course Mercedes also has a lot of money. They're more car orientated, of course, because everyone knows with Mercedes. But both Ferrari, they do have the money, but the problem is that whether they're willing to spend it, because they could just completely blow it out for a few seasons.
Exactly.
And if they don't win, it's a gamble in which it'll ruin their reputation, and they might go bankrupt. So. But they have got Rory Byrne back this year, for this year, which he was the designer who designed Michael Schumacher's cars. The same, like the job that Adrian Newey's doing for Red Bull right now, but that's what he's doing at Ferrari. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But I think that it's going to happen under. I don't think Ferrari are going to win again under Alonso. I think Alonso will retire. And then
it's looking very likely at the moment.
Yeah, and then somebody else will. I don't know who else will be, a young driver of some kind, may rekindle the fire in Ferrari.
Now there is 2 questions I would like to ask, well, both you and the audience watching at home, on the iPads, everywhere really. My first question is, if you could have any driver come back to Formula 1 that's been in it in the past, that includes Schumacher, Fisichella, Robert Kubica, I think he was called. If you could see any driver come back, who would it be and why?
What, for a whole season, or?
Yeah, whole season. Go for it.
Oh, man. Well, I'd really like to see Fisichella back, but I don't know. I really want Nick Heidfeld back.
Yeah, he seemed like a good guy.
I know Nick Heidfeld wasn't the most shining talent as such. But he has the record for the most podiums to be able to win. He has something like 13 podiums without ever getting a win in Formula 1. He's a really good, honest guy, and I mean he was unfairly sacked by Lotus, when it was Lotus Renault in 2011. My phone's going from the house. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. But I think I'd pick Heidfeld.
I think if I had to pick one, I would. Originally I was going to say Robert Kubica for me, but I think I've noticed something that I noticed that obviously with him being in a different sport, 'cause obviously he moved to WRC and everything a couple of years ago after he left F1. But he seems to be doing a lot better in that, so I think Robert Kubica should stay there, to be honest, because if he's doing better than there, I don't think I could see him coming back. But I think Nick Heidfeld or who's the other one? Like you said, Fisichella as well.
Yeah.
If I had to pick between those two, I'd probably go for Fisichella. Not that I've got anything against Heidfeld or over Fisichella, or I think Fisichella's a better guy. I just think the two are equal on what they've got on the skill level, and that even though I think Fisichella drove for Renault, didn't they, and Heidfeld drove for Williams BMW. Now, obviously there was that horrific crash with Kubica, so there's no wonder it's no wonder I think that he won't come back after that crash he had in Canada several years ago. Like I said, so he's better off in WRC. Fisichella and Heidfeld are doing well at the moment, but if they came back to F1, I'd be equals with them, because I wouldn't know whether they've still got that driving skill that they used to have when they were in F1 in the old days, or I mean they could. If they ever came back, I think I'd definitely be supporting them, cheering them on during each race.
Yeah.
Because it'd be nice to see him back, and it'd be nice to see an old person return who used to be in Formula 1. And on to the second question, which is still Formula 1 related, is obviously we've done the drivers who you'd like to see return. What about teams? Would you like to see any new teams come to the table, or old teams come back?
Well, I know there is a new F1 team coming to Formula 1. It's American based. They've actually got their own wind tunnel.
Is it Formula E by any chance?
No. It's a proper team. For 2015 or 2016? Probably 2016. An American F1 team. I know it didn't go very well back in 2010, but the team I'd like to see back. A new team actually. I have to really think back actually. I'd probably say Toyota.
Even though they didn't seem like a strong team, this is my opinion. Even though they didn't seem like a strong team with what was it called? Got the drivers. I think it was Trulli and Glock. Obviously, Glock went into Russia in 2012, but I think that, like you say, if they bring Toyota back, I think you're probably right. I think even if they brought Toyota back, there's got to be something that they probably bring something new to the table. Put it that way. In my opinion, I think they probably go for. I mean, I can't see them being a championship-winning team, but I guess it depends on the drivers, really. I mean, the two drivers that they had, obviously Glock and Trulli, I don't think that they're the strongest of drivers. No. But I think maybe if they give, I'm guessing if there was better drivers, I reckon they'd do better. But that's just my opinion.
Maybe, yeah. But of course, they just pulled the plug on F1 at the end of 2009. As in, like, they were designing the 2010 car, and they had the 2010 car completely designed, and it was made, and it had the seat fittings for Nakajima and Jacques Villeneuve, who was going to make a comeback with. I forgot what team was going to do it. It was like Stefan F1 or something. They tried to get in, but Bernie didn't allow them. And according to the wind tunnel, apparently the car was like up there with the Red Bull kind of quality aeros. So that's
quite quick then.
That's a car that never raced though, so we'll never know.
Exactly.
But I'd like to see them back. But the problem is that last time they came in, they had the biggest budget ever in F1, and they still didn't win a single race.
Yeah, exactly.
Along with BMW won one race, and they had the second biggest budget. So yeah.
That's quite true. If I had to say about, going back to before about new teams, bringing any new teams in or old teams. Now, I have said this to somebody before about, I can't remember who it was. It was a friend of mine from years ago, and we was talking about new teams coming and everything. Obviously, this was before Red Bull started its years of dominance.
Yeah.
But I said, well, what about Audi? Because obviously Audi do the Le Mans series, and they make family cars, family sedan, maybe sports cars. With the Audi R8 and stuff.
Yeah.
I think if they came into it, I think there'd be some sort of rivalry between them and McLaren, because even though they're both, the engine makes are both German, I think, because obviously McLaren's got the Mercedes engine, and well, McLaren engine.
This is the last year of Mercedes for McLaren.
Exactly, and if Audi obviously came in, they'd have their own Audi engine.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
But I think I could easily see a rival between them two because, for one, I think they both picked the colour silver when designing the car. So obviously McLaren have gone for the silver look past couple of years. Obviously they mixed it with red a few years because of the sponsorship they've had off Lucasade and such. Whereas this year, obviously they've just gone straight with silver. And it seems to have been like that past couple of years. It's either been a grey or it's been a dark white colour, so silvery grey colour. But I've never seen, obviously, when you used to have McLaren, it used to be when Sonny was driving, it was red, really, I think for the most part, with a few of the sponsors on the side, white and a bit of black and everything. You move forward a couple of years, you've got grey. I don't know why they picked grey, but I guess it works now, looking at it. I mean, looking at the car, I was watching something of Jenson Button yesterday when he was doing his lap around Australia in his new McLaren that he's got this year. And looking at the car, it looked, with it being in the, because he kept going in and out of shadows, past the trees, under the trees, it looked like a Sauber because of the fact that the colour just looked black because of all the shadows it went under.
I see.
I think it was because either with the colour they went for or the shadows, but for me when I was watching it I thought, am I sure I'm not watching a Sauber, I'm not watching Esteban Gutierrez or Adrian Sutil, but I don't know, I guess in the end it depends. I mean the colour's obviously with grey, I don't know why they went with it, but I guess it works now.
Yeah, well it's a hangover really from their West sponsorship. The West, was it the cigarettes? They did cigarettes?
I think so. They had David Coulthard when they had that sticker on the side.
Yeah, but it was that, what was it, grey and black, which then transformed into the silver and red of, originally it was Johnny Walker, but then it transformed into Vodafone.
Yeah. Even though, obviously like we said about Formula 1 in general and everything, we've talked a bit about the F1 2014 season, so this season. But what about, if I asked you now, really, I mean obviously I think you've already watched Qualifying, I haven't, but who's your favourite to win tomorrow's Grand Prix, in your eyes?
Lewis Hamilton.
That's a fair guess. I think it'd probably be my guess as well. I mean I'm a big Mercedes fan over the past couple of years.
Right, okay.
But well, I say big Mercedes fan, but I'm more like a small Mercedes fan than a big one, because back in 2010 when Mercedes and Schumacher and everything, I wasn't a big fan of Mercedes, but as soon as I heard that Hamilton was joining, I went from a McLaren fanboy to a Mercedes fanboy.
Oh, I see.
Because I was following Hamilton.
Yeah.
But I think last year, obviously Mercedes had a great year last year.
Yeah.
But I know for Hamilton it wasn't a great year because of the fact of 2012 as well, near the end of 2012. He had an engine failure with his McLaren. He got took out by, he got a win in Austin, which was great for McLaren then. Then he got took out by Nico Hulkenberg in Brazil to end out 2012.
That was so bad, that one.
Yeah, it was.
I could have won that race.
Yeah, exactly. He did have a good tyre strategy, I'll give him that race. And then looking at last year, he got his win in Hungary, but he had so many downs to his season. Obviously, he got a few podiums. I think last year, it was 5 podiums, including his win. Rosberg seemed to get on the podium, I think, more times than he did, really, because he got, I think, 2 wins. One in Great Britain and one in...
No, he didn't win it, but... Oh, wait, you mean Rosberg, yeah.
Yeah. But I think... Remember Silverstone last year, where we had all the tyre blowouts? I think...
Oh yeah, I saw them in front of my eyes. I was there
exactly.
in Stowe C grandstand, and I remember seeing Verne coming straight up to us, and then there's this massive bang.
And he's like, pop tyres rolling.
And everyone pointed, pretty much. Yeah, and they saw the massive, band of rubber, and the Lotuses trying to avoid Raikkonen and Grosjean. Yeah.
If I'm honest, relating to that problem from last year, I think now obviously everyone's been, well not everyone, but a lot of the drivers, I think, after that were saying we fixed the tyres. Obviously, it seemed like they fixed the tyres after that because there wasn't that many blowouts. I don't think there's any blowouts after that.
No.
But I think going into this year, I'm kind of thinking, for some reason, I've got a bad feeling about Pirelli. Now, it's not because of the tyre blowouts. I think it's because of the company in general. Because last time I heard Pirelli was doing well as a whole, you know, as a tyre manufacturer.
Yeah.
I thought that they were better at doing, and it seems to prove my point, because I've always thought that ever since Pirelli started making tyres, I've mainly seen them being used in rallying, so the World Rally Championships by Subaru, Fords, Citroens, etc. And then now that I'm making that, as soon as I heard over, I think it was the end of 2012 going into last year, I thought, Pirelli, no, not the best tyre manufacturer they could have gone with. And after Silverstone, it seems to prove it. Because there are a lot of people going, oh, they shouldn't have, you know, they shouldn't be making tyres if they blow out, especially how bad they were in Silverstone.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were negative about that. I was definitely negative about that. And if I'm honest, I kept saying after that race, I thought they should go back to making rally tyres. They shouldn't be making F1 tyres if they're doing that sort of stuff. But after they fixed it, I'm keen to give them a second chance for this year. But if I see something like, if it, you know, if we see what happened last year, if we see all the blowouts happen again, except there's twice as many, or there's just more than there should be, I think that something's going to happen between the FIA and Pirelli, and I think Pirelli might be out of it sooner than they know, even though they did sign a contract for, I think, 2 more years, so 2016.
Yeah, the thing is with Pirelli, if they don't just make motor racing tyres. They have a huge road tyre division. As in, like, even my dad's 1934 Wolseley 9 runs on Pirellis. Massive, really thin tyres. They're a very big company. I don't know what they're like this year so far, because we haven't raced yet, so I can't really comment. Even in practice and stuff, I can't comment. But they seem better this year than they were last year in terms of wear and pace. But they're heavier this year. But I don't know how that affects the cars. But I think, compared to Bridgestones, I think Bridgestones were a bit, back in 2010, they were a bit boring. As in,
I've heard that from my granddad, because my granddad and me are quite big F1 fans, and we both support Hamilton. But what he said to me is that since Pirelli's, he said, well, when Pirelli first came into Formula 1 in 2013, I think, or when they came 2011. In, 2011. But when they first came into making tyres, he didn't think much of them. But then, as soon as the blowouts came, he agreed with me, and I said, well, to be honest, they should be making rally tyres, they should be, etc. And he said, well, why don't they just get rid of them after the end of this year and go and put them back on Bridgestone again? And I said, well, you got a point in saying that, but if you think about it though, every tyre manufacturer has to sign a contract, and he didn't think about that, and he thought, And then he said, oh, yeah, they do, don't they? And I said, you didn't know, did you? And he said, no, I didn't know. But it just goes to show, I guess, because a lot of people think, oh, well, you can sack a tyre company after 1 year. It's not like that in Formula 1. They have a contract. It's several years before they go, and it changes to another one, or it gets renewed and they go for another few years. So I guess tyres were all over the place, really. I mean, there used to be, I think, one brand in the 80s and then one brand in the 90s. Or...
Yeah, Goodyear, and Michelin ran on its own for ages.
Exactly, and then you've got 2000s. Now we started off with, we didn't start with Bridgestone obviously in 2000s, but I think there was something else back then. I think it was Michelin coming into 2000 and we swapped to Bridgestone.
We had a tyre war between Bridgestone and Michelin in the 2000s, but the problem with the tyre war is that although you get a lot of development in the tyre, as in the cars get a lot faster and the tyres are more durable, the cars, the better handling is that problem, because the races become less of a spectacle because the tyres are so good. And of course then you had the massive Indy 2005 drama, where only 6 cars lined up on the grid with Bridgestones and all the Michelins couldn't run.
Exactly.
which was a farce, and that's why that's why F1 was out of the US for 5 years before it returned in 2012.
Wow. There was one. I think it was definitely Malaysia. I remember that much. Team Jordan was still in participation in the F1 days. I can't remember which year it was. I think it was 2005 or 2006. Might have been. It was early 2000s, mid 2000s. But it was at Malaysia, and the tyres were absolutely dreadful because the track started off dry, and all of a sudden it started to get wet. And what you could see now, obviously nowadays, if you see a car on the dry track and all of a sudden it starts to rain and the cars are driving with dry tyres on, you don't see them spin as quickly as them cars did back in the early 2000s, because there was, like I said, the Kuala Lumpur Malaysian Grand Prix back in 2000 something. I can't remember which year though, top of my head. But the start was completely dry, and after about 2 laps it started chucking it down completely, just raining like mad.
Yeah.
And you could see they were coming down the back straight just before you come on the start finish line, that back straight there. They came down there, and when they braked, the car just did a 180 and spun straight away, and most drivers wet in the gravel. You were lucky if you didn't hit the wall really, because the cars were going that fast back then. And the tyres were absolutely dreadful for dealing with it back then, but with them going into, as we're getting into the more modern era, the tyres are doing better and they're not struggling, they're not doing that with the car as much.
It also has to be noted that back then they had much less rear downforce, and of course having rear downforce, it stops the back trying to get to the front and spinning the car. So yeah, because we've had exhaust blown diffusers. It'll be a bit more difficult this year, I think. If it properly rains while they're on slicks, I think you will see people doing 180s, but the tyres are better in the wet conditions now. But the cars also have the floor, which they didn't used to have before, which gives you something like 60% more downforce. So yeah, that's the reason, I think.
Now, obviously, like we said, we've talked about the tyres, we've talked about everything on the 2014 season. This just leaves one last thing left, and that's the game side of things. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of negativity, there's been a lot of positivity over the past few years with F1 games, and the fact that I think there was a 3-year break between the last F1 game and Codemasters bringing them back in 2009. But playing, I think, if you play 2010 on the Xbox and you play 2013, you notice a major difference. Obviously all the teams are different nowadays. The colour of the cars are sometimes pretty much different as well. The bodies, the drivers, everything's different obviously because it's going in dynamic years and they're going in the actual years the drivers do, which is good to see from an F1 game. But the only thing I've had a downside with now, the only couple of F1 games I haven't played for over the past few years or so was, I think I played 2006, and I haven't played 2011, but I played 2009 on the Wii, 2010, 2012, 2013. Now, this is just going to be a quick summary, but in my opinion, I think the F1 games over time, they're not going stale. It's not that, it's the fact that they seem to be getting, well, I will use the word stale here, but it's not that the fact that the games are getting stale, because Formula 1 isn't, but it's the fact that the actual inside the game. So obviously we had 2012 didn't have much special spiels. The young driver test came into play, so that was new for players to play. Then that was put into 2013. They had the classic content moved in, but after several weeks people got bored of it. Now for 2014, now in my opinion, I think they'll probably they can do better than what they did last year, because I played last year's game I think enough for me to I'm actually getting rid of it. So I mean, when I first got it, I'm going to be quite honest, I never touched the career mode because I was always interested in the classic content and the classic scenario modes and everything. When you get in the classic edition, it seems to be like that everything seems to work together, whereas with just F1 on its own, I think if we just had the F1 2013 season, then I don't think it would work. A lot of people say as well, just one last thing quick pointing out, is that a lot of people that I've listened to about improvements for next year have said bring the be the driver feel back, and I agree, because when we did when there was F1 2010 was released, they obviously had you're the driver, you've got the agent in the caravan, or in the box waiting for you. I like that. I like them sort of games where they make you feel like you're actually there, you're that person, whereas you're not just virtual, your hands are stuck on a steering when you're driving for no reason.
Yeah,
so it's good, but I don't know, what are your opinions?
Yeah, I agree with that. The 2012 and 2013 don't feel very human as such. There's no kind of interaction which which immerses you in the game. It just feels like you're being put in a simulator, or well, it's not really a proper simulator, but you know what I mean. Put in a simulator, and then you're said to go drive around the track for a bit, which isn't very nice, because you want to, career, you want to be able to feel like, you're the one who's making the steps forward. You want to feel like an F1 driver. The problem with the menus and stuff, like on F1 2013, is that they're very just bland, and like you're just, you're going through a program. It's not really, there's no kind of personal thing with it.
Yeah, exactly. And with the new generation of consoles that have been released just last year, near the end of the last year, it's said that a lot of people are thinking that it's going to go on the next generation of consoles. Now, in my opinion, they could be right on this one, but at the same time, we don't know because they haven't made the game yet, I presume. But if they actually did, I wouldn't be able to get it anyway, even if it was released on next gen. But if it did get released on just the next generation consoles, and obviously PC, I don't know what I'd think of it, because obviously for one I won't be able to play it, but I wouldn't know what I can see coming. Like, for instance, it'll come out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and obviously PC, but when it comes on, the graphics might be updated, it might run smoother, but like we keep saying, it might not have if it doesn't have the driver feel, I guess there's nothing to play it for. But yeah, it's equal, I guess. But I'm hoping that with a bit of luck, now the classic content, that was a good idea at first, and I really did enjoy playing the classic content. In fact, it's my favourite part of the game, really.
Right.
But I think the scenario mode, obviously now the increasing number of scenarios, which I did like, because I do like doing extra stuff besides just to make basic career mode. But a lot of people say that they're not trying to make it into a racing simulator, it's just an F1 game based off the real life season. But in my opinion, I guess it is, they kind of are trying to turn it into a racing simulator by the looks of things. Now, even though they're saying they're not trying to do it, it does feel like it, in my opinion. What about you?
It's a difficult one. I think they're trying too hard to make it like a year. I know everyone is yearly, but like a FIFA game, or and these sports games comes out each year, whether it's NFL or NBA, where it's one of these things where there's small improvements between games, but there's not really very substantial or new or exciting in terms of changes. I think that's what they're trying to aim for, which I don't think is the way they should do it.
Exactly.
I think they should do it in a more, a more focused approach to being accurate with what happens in the game, making sure there's no bugs and this kind of thing, more than trying to make it this. Well, I don't really play FIFA, but I used to. But it's kind of like that game. I feel it's becoming, where it's going to become more and more similar as it goes. Even when it's on next gen, although it'll look nicer, I don't think it'll be that much different.
I mean, there's a lot of game series. I mean, not just race ones, but a lot of game series I like that are seeming to do better and better. For example, we had, obviously, Rockstar got the famous Grand Theft Auto series. Now, there's no doubt, no word for lie, that they've got better each time a new one comes out. Now, obviously, there's a lot of time putting into them, and obviously the voice casting and everything like that. Call of Duty, That's a bit off scale now. So Battlefield is, I think, released. It's been released every 2 or 3 years, maybe. So EA is doing an okay job with that. COD, it's kind of the same thing, but unfortunately, now this is something I don't like. Now, if you compare something like Forza to Call of Duty, now I know we're going off topic from F1 here, but if you compare something of the likes of Forza to Call of Duty, Forza's not released every year. Now it used to be released every year, I think, or every couple of years, but now they're trying to shrink it down so it comes out every year.
Right.
Call of Duty is definitely every year, pretty much. But my problem with, like, as you say, you know, with the, I think it was with FIFA, you say like they're only putting in a little extra bit detail, they're not really changing anything completely. Call of Duty is just like that, because not that I'm saying that the game's absolutely really bad, or I'm not naming any particular ones, but for example, we have Call of Duty Black Ops in 2010, then we had Modern Warfare 3 in 2011, Black Ops in 2012, and obviously we had COD Ghost that came out last year. Now, between them 4 games, from Black Ops 1 to COD Ghost, obviously now the mechanics of the games have changed, the graphics have gotten slightly better, but the problem is that this is one thing I have a problem with, is that the games don't feel any different. They just feel like you're doing the same thing every time you play them. Now obviously multiplayer is no different, it's exactly the same pretty much, they're just different maps, that's the only difference really. Obviously now, like I said, the game mechanics are a bit different, etc. But if you think about something like the games, let's see, Black Ops 1's got its campaign. It starts off, you play the main character as usual, and you've got your protagonist that's sat next to you. He's obviously trying to help you, and you end up killing a few bad guys, police, etc. And you go through the game, and all you do is kill people now, so that's the main goal of Call of Duty, obviously, in the campaign and the game in general. But it's like that with every game. Now, for me, it's repetitive. Now, for most Call of Duty players, they just go straight through the campaign, don't think anything of it. They go straight for multiplayer, they go straight online, and they do that. You know, they shoot other people online, everything like that. Whereas something like, if you compared Black Ops 1 to Modern Warfare 3, the story is now, obviously, with every story is different in the Call of Duty Call of Duty universe, sorry. You know, one relates to another sometimes, but you're playing a different game anyway. The thing is that F1's nothing like that. F1 will keep the same sort of story, the cars will be different, the graphics will be a bit more updated, they might add a few little extras in, but there's no big change. Grand Theft Auto, there's big change, everything's pretty much new, and that's why I guess Grand Theft Auto sells so much. You know, F1, they put in a bit of development, that's true, you know, they just try releasing on a yearly basis nowadays, but at the end of the day, they're not really improving much. They might update the graphics and they've added the classic content last year, but what is there to add now? Because they've added everything really, and COD's the same. Where can they go next with the zombie mode for them? Because they seem to have gone practically everywhere, you know, things like that. I mean, it's gaming series, game development, in other words. It's slowing down for some companies, but not for others. Codemasters, unfortunately, seems to be one that slows down too much. Because they take the time, obviously, to get the data they need, you know, they get the results they're after, the cars are after, the drivers, etc. But to make a game like 2010, 2011, where you played as the driver, they take more time. I just wish they'd take more time to bring that sort of stuff back.
Yeah, they need to increase the game being unpredictable. You know, whether it's in the events in the game or what's happening in the race, it needs to be way more. Because it's just too predictable at the moment. Like if you go into a race it depends on your pace actually, but whatever difficulty you're on, you know where you're going to finish. Exactly. And you know that the cars, like the AI cars, if you just stay to the outside and make them only go down the inside, they're gonna find it like almost impossible to get past you.
Exactly.
And all the AI cars have better tyre wear than you, so it's really predictable if you drive with the normal computer players and such. And then the online mode's not very good, so it doesn't really balance it out very well.
That's true, yeah.
But they need to. They just need to make it more human, I think.
Yeah, more convenient for the modern player, because obviously, although, just a quick point out as well is that over, I think, Twitter with me and a few friends last week, we all mentioned something about F1 2013 and the F1 games in general, and that is the fact that looking at the games visually, obviously now, visuals are obviously improving, which is a great thing to see,
Yeah.
but to change the game mechanics, it doesn't seem to be for, well, the games don't look like they're for the modern F1 fan, because a lot of, it says like people who, I think somebody said, the people who should buy the F1 games are people who are F1 fans mainly. They're not just your average gamer. They're probably more like F1 fans mainly to buy the game. Or maybe, I mean, the only time a casual player will probably play a game like that is either if they're racing into racing games, or they are just looking for something new to play. But for the majority of F1 gamers that like it, and F1 fans alike, they buy the games because, obviously, because it's F1 for one, and because it's based off the actual season.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought the game last year because the trailers made the game look obviously interesting, amazing, like every game trailer does sometimes.
Yeah.
And obviously the involvement of classic content. The only reason I actually mainly bought it was probably because of the classic content. And the fact that you could get the 90s content. It was a classic edition of the game, and it just seemed like that was the main selling selling factor, sorry, of the game, really. And that's what stood out to most people. I think that's why most people bought it, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I didn't actually play the classic content much at all. I didn't play career either. It's kind of weird. I haven't really done any of the scenarios either. I pretty much race it only online. In leagues and stuff. I haven't done many sprint races. A little bit of co-op career here and there, but yeah. And the reason why I do that is just because I can predict everything pretty much. I can handle the classic cars. It's not like I'm really shit with them or anything. It's just it just feels really samey, I guess.
Yeah, they all feel and look the same. Well, not look the same actually. They all feel the same. But I think I can agree with you on that one as well. I mean, F1. If I'm going to be honest, I think last year's game, it's the online that's put me off completely from actually playing the game. Now, it's not something that I see as something that would put me off. For instance, COD, multiplayer on that doesn't put me off because I don't play it much. I mean, I don't play the multiplayer side of it. I mean, I play, if there's zombies on it, I'll play it. But if there's the multiplayer side, I don't play that for a reason. I just don't like going online and everything like that. Whereas with F1, it's something for a change. So like a lot of the time I play F1, it's mainly the career mode or the scenario, all the extra bits. But then going into league racing and things like that, that requires the online section of it. And if that's bad, that kind of messes up league races and everything kind of messes up a little bit. Something to point out as well. Now I'm hoping with a bit of luck. Now a lot of people have gone, I hope Codemasters pick up on this, but I agree with what they've said about it, but basically it's that when they make obviously the next F1 game, one thing they need to focus on a lot, or think about before they release the game pre-owned and work on, is the online section, because we had all the glitches at the start, and that's typical from a usual game anyway, but the Phantom Car glitch, the auto retire glitch, the Bahrain cone glitch, there's a lot of stuff that was wrong with the game, to be honest. And that's kind of what ruined league racing in general, I think. But I guess, well, that's kind of the reason why I'm selling it really on eBay when up for auction, because I've done my league racing and they've said, do you want to do a second season? I've just said no, because of the glitches and everything on the game. It's just put me off the game completely. And if I'm honest, I'm not going to go straight and jump into the game like when the next one gets released. Instead, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to play it smart for a change, which means I'll be sitting back watching other people play it, watch people play the online version, like online section of it,
Yeah.
and then if I think the game looks good enough and I think the overall game is good enough for the multiplayer and everything, then I might consider buying it. But apart from that, it's probably going to be a no from me, unless it goes for something like 10 quid cheap, then I might pick it up, but we'll have to see, I guess, for F1 games.
Yeah, we'll have to see. No one, well, except for Codemasters, will know what's actually going to happen with F1 2014. So, yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, and that wraps it up, I guess, for this big talk. It's been almost 40 minutes, I think, now.
You might want to split it into two.
I probably will do. And obviously, we'll sign off, but just before we do, one quick question just to ask the viewers here. This is from me, and Alex can ask his question in a minute. It can be any question, if it's to do with F1 or motorsport in general. But from me, my question would be, it's probably going to be an obvious one now, so we already talked about it, the question, but this is just from me to you guys, and the question is, who do you think will go for Vettel? I don't mean attack him personally, I mean, who do you think will try and stop him the most? Do you think Alonso, Hamilton, anyone? Just leave your answer in the comments below. And if you have a question, Alex, you can say it now if you want to. Any question.
What's your favourite team?
My favourite team. Right, I'll leave that up to you guys, but I'm just going to say my favourite team is Mercedes at the moment. What's yours?
Force India.
There you go. So mine's Mercedes, this is Force India. What are your guys' thoughts? Leave them in the comments below. Me and Alex will see you soon. So from me and Alex, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Alex. Say
goodbye.